Hello and welcome to yet another Adrenalin Shot, your short, sharp injection of something valuable. And today I'd like to introduce you to Scott Trevethan from Go Global Bookkeeping. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Dawn. Lovely to be here.
Thank you, and thank you for joining me today. Scott and I have been having a fun morning trying to get technology on our side, and I think we're both glad that we've seemed to have it working finally.
Absolutely.
And so bookkeeping is going to be an interesting subject today, but let me introduce you to Scott first of all and tell you a little bit about his background. So Scott, you turned 50 this year. It's a major milestone.
Yay.
Yay, I know. Been there, done that. And it is a major milestone. But you were born the son of a CPA and chairman of the a high-flying public servant, and you and your brother promptly then became chartered accountants yourself and followed in your father's footsteps.
Yep.
You went straight into the public sector, and I understand that as well as doing that, you're quite an avid skier and snowboarder, and Scott and I were talking about the lack of snow in Victoria at the moment just a short while ago. But on top of that, you're a skydiver, you're a motorbike rider, a scuba diver, a sailor, a karate student, and we've discovered a commonality in being an ex-army grunt. And Scott says he shied away from all of the risky kind of pursuits that you could possibly imagine. So obviously there's a sense of humour behind there. But if we look at Scott's early career, he spent it at Deloitte to start with, and then he went on to British American Tobacco, where he did a successful stint as an internal auditor before being assigned to the marketing team as a brand manager, which is quite a turnaround for an accountant. Scott, you then moved on to Arnott's Biscuits and Recon's Software, quite varied, before following your dream and opening a concept cafe. So I find what you've done quite remarkable.
I've been there.
Yeah. When a cafe wasn't quite working out, Scott moved into financial consulting, which morphed into public accounting. And he's now the principal of Scott Partners, a firm founded over 45 years ago by its namesake, David Scott. Never one to be satisfied with the status quo, Scott recently started the outsourced bookkeeping firm, Go Global Bookkeeping. And it's that I'm going to speak to Scott about today. So Scott, I'm really interested. You started off as a chartered accountant in the public sector, but now you've gone down the bookkeeping route. Tell me about that.
Sure, absolutely. Dawn, we've had a team established in Cebu in the Philippines for the last, say, 4 years, and found that really, really successful. On my last visit, or my visit in July last year, I was approached by the owner of that organisation to start a bookkeeping business, and it led me to ponder deep and hard as to whether that was something that I wanted to do or go down that path. And it really was, because I found that whilst accountants have been exposed to outsourcing and the low-cost labour environments in general, they haven't been really passing that on to their clients. So the accountants have been reaping all the rewards of the low-cost labour environment. So we wanted to start something that really gave individual businesses, small and medium-sized, and sometimes even large businesses, access to that low-cost accounting support, so fully qualified accountants that can really help boost their what I call business clarity. Because, as you know, when you're running a business, there's a fog, the thing of what I call like the fog of war, but it's the fog of business. And you're not quite sure, you've got lots of information, but you're not quite sure what the crystal clear picture is so that you can make decisions with any sort of degree of certainty. So the whole idea of helping people get more accounting assistance is to help lift that fog of business and to give them more clarity so that they can make decisions in a much better environment.
Yeah. And so what sort of impact is technology? Because obviously technology is really taking over this sector, and you've talked about outsourcing. How's that going to affect the bookkeeping industry?
Wow, it really has affected it massively, Dawn. And first of all, in opening up the low-cost labour environment, so with the faster broadband speeds that are achievable right throughout Australia and most countries now, it's very easy to connect with someone, whether they're in the next room, the next state, or even in the next country. We've then tacked on top of that, we've got cloud-based accounting systems. So Xero, it wasn't the first, but it was the largest to market. And then other accounting software providers have followed suit in that. So either with VPNs, that's virtual private networks, or through cloud-based accounting solution providers, it just means that you can use the low-cost labour environment so much more.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So what would a bookkeeper that you're using in an outsourced situation like this, what would they actually do for a business?
Wow, good question as well. So I guess when a lot of people think of bookkeeping, they think of simple things like bank reconciliations, maybe sending out some invoices and chasing up customers, and also paying suppliers and making sure that the suppliers are doing the right sort of thing by that business, and maybe a little bit around inventory, so stock control and entering various bits and pieces. That's what people think of traditionally as bookkeeping services. But it goes much further than that. And we also talk about financial accounting. Because of my background in industry, so in the fast mover consumer good industry, I know that accountants can provide a lot more advice than simple data entry, and following up customers and suppliers. So they also do things like budgets, management reporting, project accounting, things that we call management accounting, so assigning costs to various units, so that the business owners or the decision makers within the business can really get the most information that they can in the way that they need it, in a timely manner to make those decisions.
Mm. And how does that work out with people overseas? You know, you've obviously got perhaps some language barriers. You've got to be prepared, you know, be able to tell them what to do, teach them what to do. How does that work out?
Well, I think we're extremely lucky from the language perspective that we're born in an English-speaking country in the way that in the time that we are. Most low-cost labour environments will have English, a strong English background, so that they can service the US as well as Anglo and Australian markets as well. We love the Philippines, and we love that because the language that they teach, it's not their first language, but the language that they educate in is English. So they all have an excellent standard of English. And I really think that helps. Now, with technology, things like what we're using here, Zoom, Skype, Dropbox, all of those things are designed so that people can work from home, and they're applicable to people working in low-cost labour environments too. So if you can think of a way that someone can access and do their job from home, then someone can do it from a low-cost labour environment like the Philippines as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that our time's almost up. Do you have a favourite software that you use, or is it up to the client?
You know what, we love Xero. We think because Xero really was a cloud-based accounting application right from the start. And unlike some of its competitors, it's never rested on its laurels. It's always tried to build something that can be accessed on the cloud all the time. So it's ever increasing its features as well. So we just love Xero.
Yeah, I love it too. That's what I use. I got introduced to it several years ago, and it completely changed how I felt about actually managing my own books, because I, was doing them myself. I went from MyOb that was double entry, me having to type things in, to this beautiful thing where it just bank feeds roll in and I can click it, okay, and reconcile everything.
Absolutely.
It is beautiful, isn't it? And it makes it really easy. So what does the future look like, Scott? What's the plan?
for Go Global, or for small business?
For
because
Go Global.
I think, okay, so Go Global, we think there's a window there of opportunity in relation to the next 5 to 10 years before artificial intelligence comes over and takes away a lot of the bookkeeping type of roles and internal accounting roles that there are there.
Yeah.
But until that time, and we think that that's still a little bit away, until that time we think that we're going to ever increase the skill set and knowledge and experience of our team in the Philippines, so that they can increase and meet the needs of ever increasing demand in Australia. So
yeah,
we think we'll get bigger and better.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. And I really want to thank you for joining me this morning, for putting up with the technology hassles that we had this morning, and still having a smile on your face. It was great. And
that's my absolute pleasure, Dawn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
Great. Thank you, Dawn.